right, well, hello and welcome. This is Joe Severson, and sitting beside me is my mentor now of 12 years, Mr. Ron Malaysis. Ron, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic, Joe. How are you?
Man, I'm excited. I'm excited for this new training series. I'm excited that you're willing to actually take time out of your busy life and schedule and with all the kids and all the businesses and everything you have going on. So thanks for being here with me today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Well, I was surfing around the internet, as you know, for quite a while and went through a lot of different lead companies, a lot of mentors, and I just, destiny landed me on a phone with you one day, and before I knew it, I had a guy coaching me, teaching me what to do, and really building my belief around the process of calling leads worked because I ran out of my warm market. So that's my first question to you today, Ron. How do I know that calling leads works? Now, I know, but that's what a lot of people wonder because their uplines are telling them something different.
Well, when you really think about it, it only makes sense. When people get started in this business, they're asked to work their warm market, but it only takes common sense to figure out how many people do you actually know. If you go into a profession like law or if you become an accountant, you don't depend on your friends and family for your clients. You want to get out there and market your business and get the exposure that any form of media can bring to your business. Well, I'll tell you, the last 10 years, the internet has been absolutely critical as far as opening up what we call the pipeline, the prospects. Do you realize that there's over 1 million people a week that are inquiring about making more money, working from home, and over 800 different search terms that are relevant around that area? Now,
Wow.
if we're not positioned to take advantage of these prospects, we're absolutely, staggering our development. So, in other words, we need to be positioned with today's technologies and today's knowledge to move forward so we can accelerate our growth in our business. So, working leads is not only important, it's absolutely critical.
And when you're talking about again being in network marketing now, going on 28 years, you've been in the business, and you've seen a lot. You've seen a lot of things that have come and gone, fancy ideas. The timeless principles of what work, but there's definitely some leaders out there that are starting to look and go, we better adapt to today's technology, right? So when it comes down to adapting to new technology, just what's important to that when we're talking about leads here as well?
Well, when you really think about it, this is new technology, but it's old fundamentals.
Mm.
Now, before the internet, people were advertising in newspapers, magazines, and television, still are, and they were doing flyers, and they were doing cold market prospecting. A lot of these things were done and accessing people that were looking for a home-based business for years and years and years in different forms. Now, all the internet's done is brought people to a common form of search. There's over 1 billion people worldwide that are, on the internet, and you're within steps away from being in contact with these people. So when you really think about it, it's an absolutely incredible medium to be able to communicate and to bring people that are like-minded. And that's really what the internet's doing, is bringing like-minded individuals together on a global basis. And if you're not positioned to take advantage of this, you're just really doing yourself more damage than anything.
Well, and you're absolutely right. And what I've noticed from a lot of war stories and horror stories from people that I've coached that said leads didn't work for me is people had the wrong lead vendor. In the age of being a lead vendor where you're providing leads to the community, if you're oversharing the leads or you call and the people sound like they're beat up on the phone or you're overpricing the leads, talk to us a little bit about your own personal experience. And you've learned how to generate a proper lead. You have the formula, the sharing down, everything, because you did this to build your own groups. Is that correct?
Oh, absolutely. This was the main trigger on launching my groups and keeping and sustaining and developing momentum and growth throughout my career when I was an active builder. But it does work. There is no question it works, because I've built over 4 groups of 100,000 people plus.
Wow.
And all those groups started from a lead program. Now, from leads, we got into people's war market. The war market accelerated. They got into leads. They then got into people's war market. So it goes from war market or leads to war market to leads. It goes back and forth. And that's how you really leverage the power of contacts out there. And, like I said, there's millions of people that are looking for a business, looking to make more money. And we're in the worst economy in history. So really, what the internet has done is brought all this together. Now, the quality of leads is important. You have to have a lead that hasn't been contacted or oversold like anything. Some people actually go on the internet and sign up for everything and anything. It's no different than people walking through a mall and decided they want to go to one store and they wind up visiting 30 other stores. And by the time they got to their favorite store, they were too tired. They didn't really care to look that hard, and they may have run out of money because they already spent it somewhere else. It's human nature. So the key is working fresh leads. When I say fresh leads, from real time to about 24 hours old. And then the next most important thing is knowing what to say.
That's right.
That is so important. And I'll tell you something, Joe, you've done a great job in teaching people the language skills that go with piquing someone's interest, moving them through the process, and making a 30-second friend with that person, because that person is going to have to trust you in order to do business with you. And the skills are absolutely critical in how you talk to people.
Well, thank you for that. And, I love your book you have, which is turning strangers into friends and friends into new recruits and customers. And you're right. The 30-second friend, if you know what to say and you have the right leads, you've got fresh leads, they're not oversold, and you know what to say, I mean, you can really create amazing results in a short amount of time. Now, going back to you, Ron, 4 groups over 100,000, 1 group over 300,000. I mean, my goodness, that speaks volumes of what you've been able to do as a leader, and that your strategies and your formulas and your lead programs and all of it works. It stood the test of time. It wasn't a fluke. But let's talk about duplication. Okay. Why is it that you've been so successful in duplicating versus so many other people that struggle to get to 100 or 1,000 people on their team?
Well, I've always followed one principle, and that is it simple, does it work, and can I do it? And if you do everything with that principle in mind, your group's going to grow. In other words, you have to do things that people can duplicate. If you do things that people can't duplicate, then it's just going to be you and a handful of others that are going to be your followers, and your group's never going to grow past 5, 10 people. Now, there's a skill, and there's a skill in empowering people to do the work and empowering people to be motivated to grow their business. And let me tell you about the law of leverage and how you leverage time. And then when you convert time leverage to working with leads and working with contacts, that really is what equals results, and it also creates momentum. Then the key is sustaining momentum and then advancing momentum. But here's a real simple scenario. 5 people in your business putting in 20 hours a week, that's 100 hours a week of time leverage. Yep. Now, let's say you had 20 people in your business putting in 20 hours a week. That's 400 hours per week time leverage. Now, if you had a job and you worked 40 hours in that job compared to 400 hours, where do you think you're more effective? Working like it's a job or working like you're the boss? Obviously, working like you're the boss is where you get the benefit of the leverage. Now, let's say you had 50 people on your team, and they were putting in 20 hours per week. That is 1,000 hours of labor every single week. Now, that is 20 to 40 times what an average person can do on their own. Now, how many people do you think can be called in 1,000 hours? Now, if you're working strictly your warm market, that's gone in a few days. So you have to have the ability to have massive amounts of leads through a group so they don't get frustrated on not having people to call and they're laying around doing nothing or creating busy work for themselves. So the key is to have thousands of prospects on a weekly basis that are fresh, that are available for your distributors to call and to build their businesses from. So when you convert the thousands of prospects with the thousands of hours, you've got the law of large numbers, and the law of large numbers are never going to fail you in this business, because only then does because your groups are getting better. And as they get better, they get more persuasive. And with better persuasion, they're getting more enrollments. So in essence, the leads aren't going to get any better. You're going to get better. And as you get better, the leads become automatically a lot better.
Well, and you're absolutely right. Like the training that happens from the actual action, right? Not just sitting and watching videos like this. I mean, this is great, but you've got to take this information, you got to go apply it, and that's where the real learning takes place. That's what you taught me, Ron. Learning through action, not just watching, right?
Well, absolutely. I mean, when you're watching something, you have to watch it. You retain about 3 to 10% at best, depending on who you are. And you have to watch it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times to really understand it. But when you're actually practicing something, you realize that the magic number is 21. When you have said a script 21 times, you have learned the language. And that language is critical. When you're speaking it to a new prospect, it comes out natural, it comes out fluent, and it doesn't come out choppy or you're reading from a script. And again, when you're making the calls, after you've made 21 calls, you've made 100 calls, you've made 500 calls over a few weeks period, do you think you're going to be the same person after you've made 500 phone calls as you were when you first started with your first phone call? Action is the best form of training because that's really where you convert your knowledge to skill. And unless you're making the calls, unless you're working your business and doing the work, you're not going to get any better. You're going to hide behind your fears, and that's what people do. They hide behind their computers. They hide behind things that don't challenge them because the things that you're going to have to do in your business are the things that are most uncomfortable at first, and those are the areas that you need to work the hardest in because that's what's going to make the difference in your business is get out of your comfort zone and make the things that you hate the things that you're best at, and that's what's going to create the results. Someone said to me a long time ago, what's the most important part to an automobile? And I said, well, it's the steering wheel. No,
right.
Maybe it's the tires.
The engine, yeah.
And the most important part to an automobile is the part that's missing, and that's where your action takes over the parts that's missing because that's where you're going to become complete 100%.
I love it. You taught me the 1,000-call rule, right? You make 1,000 calls and you're pretty much going to know what to expect and you're going to be better yourself and the leads get better as well. Now, Ron, I got another question that's just recently come in, and that's, we're getting in a position we start to recruit new people, and this is where I see people just really flounder because there's, again, a lack of training throughout the industry on what do I do with my new person? I got this upline telling me to have a party. I have this upline telling me to do this and do that. Just from your experience, what are a couple critical points about what do I do with this brand new person that just started with me today?
Well, there's a lot of approaches, and different groups have different approaches, from parties to private business receptions to hotel meetings. There's still some of that going on. Some believe in only in doing online presentations. You have to get with what your group is teaching, and then you have to take what can work the best for you. Something is better than nothing. If you're doing a personal meeting, all you can see is you talk to one person. That may take you hours to get to that personal meeting. That could be a lot of wasted time. You have to spend lots of hours to see a few people. Whereas when you sort through your prospects and you have video presentations on the internet where you can sort through the ones that are sort of curious versus the ones that are serious, you're really leveraging your time without having to leave your house. And you're really identifying the good prospects from the ones that are tire kickers. So there is a lot of different ways. It's a funnel in a bucket. Depending on how wide you want to make your funnel, there's different ways of bringing prospects into your funnel. You can bring them in one at a time, you can bring them in by the dozens, or you can bring them in by the hundreds or the thousands. It's up to you. And the different means generate more prospects coming into your funnel, which ultimately at the other end, you're going to have more falling into your bucket.
Well, that's perfect. And, there's some really, interesting things that we've discovered on the internet to bring more people in. But unless you have the skills, it really doesn't matter, right, Ron? I mean, you've really got to develop your communication skills. And we found truly one of the best, quickest ways with leads. Now, isn't it true that when you get a new person started and again, going back to the times where you're building these large groups, that when you got the new person started, you called it recruit the recruit, right? Which I learned from you. I've got to get this person to recruit within 48 hours. Talk to us about how important it is to get that person into action.
Well, I've always believed in a recruit for a recruit. So once you recruited somebody, your goal is to get them off to a fast start. Because let's face it, no one wants to start slowly. They want to start quickly. So I'll sit down with the new person, like let's say it's you, Joe, and I say, Joe, what I'd like to do is I'd like to really move your business as quick as possible. Do you want to do it fast or do you want to do it slow? The work's going to get done anyways. It's easier to do it fast, and it's harder and more painful to do it slow. So here's a good plan, Joe. Who are the 10 top people that you know, the 10 most respected, people that you've been in business with or contacts or people that you know that perhaps at this moment you don't want to talk to because you don't feel like you have enough knowledge or experience in this business?
Okay.
Well, make that list.
Okay.
As soon as you make that list, here's what I'd like to do, Joe. With your permission, I'd like to give those people a call because I can talk to them about the business. I've got the knowledge. I'll share with them what you've seen with the business, and they're going to get the benefit of my years of experience, okay, and my income to support my language and my offering to them. Instead, from you, they know that you're just brand new, so you don't want them to take advantage of that, part of the business. So with that said, I'm trying to get your top 10. I'm going to call your top 10, and I'm going to, approach them as a mutual acquaintance.
Right.
And as I call them as a mutual acquaintance, the door is open because there's trust because I know you. The trust is there. Now there's credibility because they don't know who I am. And because you and I talked about them, they feel that they feel flattered. So there's trust and credibility built into that. So also at that point in time, my goal is to help recruit one of those top 10 for you in your business. But I also want to get you started on leads, immediately calling prospects.
Right.
So I'm going to work with you on the dialogue script. 21 times I'm going to have you say that script to me, to yourself, so until you get it absolutely perfect. So it comes out of your mouth as if it's you talking naturally to a prospect.
Right.
And then the goal is to get your leads and to call those leads, because now that you know what to say to them, now you need to engage those prospects in a sorting process to get rid of the ones that are not interested so you can focus on the ones that are interested. Because again, leads are prospects. It's no different than having a store and you have 100 people that walk through your store. Not everyone's going to buy. Even though they made the effort to come in, they're not buyers. Some are lookers, some are thinkers, and some are doers. And you want to get the doers. In other words, the red apples, the green apples, and the rotten apples. You want to focus on the red apples. And that's really the simplest way to get a new person started. It's all about action. When you engage a new person in action and someone is actively building, pursuing their dream, they never quit. The only time people quit in this business is when they're idle. They feel like they can't do this business. They feel like they failed. And that's really where the attrition comes from. And unfortunately, that happens more cases than less because there's lack of leadership that engages people into massive action from the onset. And when you do that, that's where you create some serious momentum.
Well, I love everything that you're sharing. I've implemented it, and I've even transitioned it into our coaching programs now, Ron, after building my own groups from your mentorship. And recently, just over the last few months, we've taken your ideas to such a degree, we've created a complete accountability program around it that when somebody gets started in our new person's group, and they're in obviously various companies, they immediately get on the phone with their new recruit, and they immediately get their top 10. And they call their top 10, having that person listen in, as you've taught us. They additionally, within 24 hours, have that person practicing the script and calling leads. And since we've done this work with you, we're literally seeing within a few days, if not sooner, the recruit for recruit actually working. And this is in all companies. I don't care if it's $50 to get started, several thousand to get started. So I just want to let everybody know this works. Ron, it still works today. I know you've been doing it for over 20 years, but it absolutely works. And what happens is, going back to duplication, Ron, right? And people will do what you do, not what you say. And you've got to set the pace early on if you're expecting any kind of action duplication, right? Isn't that the most important thing, is that you're setting that pace early on?
Oh, absolutely, because people are going to see what you're doing. How they're being recruited is how they're going to recruit other people. And
Mm.
if they see you on the front lines and they see you doing the work, they're going to want to get quickly in a position where they're going to be doing the same thing with their people. So activity, positive activity duplicates very quickly. And that's where the fastest growing groups are usually led by leaders that are the best and strongest recruiters, because they've got a whole team of followers that want to be like them. And when you can recruit 10 or 15 or 20 people in a month's time as a result of your personal skills, and now you're engaging your people to do the same thing, they've got someone to follow. And see, that's what motivates people is positive activity. If they've got positive growth, positive activity, positive influence in their business, they never quit, and they're always motivated, because people stay motivated when they can see the results happening, when they can see their skill level improving. They see a better response from prospects all of a sudden than they did 2-3 weeks ago. They love that, and that's really what keeps growth, keeps momentum, and it keeps activity at an all-time high. But you got to keep in mind, busy work in this business does not pay. 90% of your effort has to be spent towards building your business, and that's bringing in reps. And as a result of bringing in reps, they either become customers, they lead you to customers, but building reps is the fastest way to build a customer base in this industry.
Well, and that's I'm glad you brought that up, because again, we've been talking about, motivation, and there's a lot of questions that have come in from our audience today as well about how do I motivate my team? How do I motivate my team? And I believe we've already answered that. It's you've got to set the pace early on. But let's say somebody has kind of lost touch, they've lost their motivation. We've heard that cliche about it's often easier to give new birth than resurrect the dead. But do you have any tips for going back and starting to motivate some of the people in your group? Is it possible to do that?
Well, it is sometimes. Sometimes it's also easier to build a new group and then go back to the old people and show them what you've done and offer them to restart them, to relaunch them in their business. See, the beauty of this business is if you go dormant for, say, 30 days or 60 days or 90 days, it doesn't mean that that person is out forever. They're just out temporarily. And for whatever reason, they may have personal situations they have to deal with, and they can't really focus on their business. But when they come back and they get motivated again, for whatever reason they got in the business, they're going to come back to the business for the same reason. And it's up to you to create a platform, because nothing's worse than them coming back. Let's say you've got an individual who's been sort of dormant for, say, 60 days, and they come back after 60 days and you haven't done a thing. I mean, that doesn't really give you any credibility. But in that time, you need to be building, duplicating, giving birth instead of resurrect the dead. I don't like that term, but it is what it is. Every business in the world depends on new customers. Every business. There's not a single business, if they're not growing, they're shrinking, they're going backwards. So it's about growth, and it's about bringing in new business.
And you've often talked and taught me a lot too, that there's this process of where people are excited, and a part of motivating people is keeping that excitement going and keeping that cycle going, right? Can you speak just a little bit to that as we're starting to wrap up for the day?
Yeah, absolutely. Excitement, inspiration is better than knowledge, because if you act in inspiration, in other words, if you're motivated and you act on that, it doesn't matter if you're not that good in the business, you're going to get better over time. But see, people catch the enthusiasm. People want to be around enthusiastic people, excited people, positive people, okay? They don't want to be around, knowledge, okay, that's not put to use. And in other words, you need to move on your information. You need to act on your business. And as you're building your business, it's all about activity. See, so many people want to sit back and say, you know what, I want to learn the business first before I talk to anybody.
Right.
That's really all wrong, because at that moment you should be sitting down, teaching them the scripts really quickly. I'm telling you, 30 minutes later, they should be ready to make the phone calls. They should have that enough knowledge to move forward. They don't need to master the compensation plan before they talk to new people, because that's not what new people want to see or hear. New people want to, is it simple, does it work, and can I do it? And usually it's about how much money can I make, how much time do I have to put into this business, and do you have the proper system in place where I could be taught how to do all these things? And if you can identify that, it's not a matter of you learning how to get to the very top of your company in 90 days and learning the compensation plan and mastering the compensation plan. New people can't comprehend that, and you're focusing in the wrong areas.
Awesome. And the whole concept of, how do I motivate my team is you lead by example, right? I mean, that's the common theme that I keep hearing back from you. You lead by example, you set the pace early, you show them what you've done, you let them know. When people call you up, what are you doing? Oh, I'm playing around on Facebook. When people call me, I go, I'm on the other line, we're bringing a new person to business. So people are always watching you as well. Isn't that true, Ron? They're always watching. They may not always comment, but people are watching what you're doing. So it's important that, you keep that in mind. Ron, something that maybe it doesn't apply directly to calling leads, but just you've done such an amazing job of making these distinctions for me that I wanted to share this with our audience watching this today. And this will be our final question for the day. How do we transition from that employee mindset? We've been conditioned to work a job. Through school, we've been educated very well on how to be good trained employees. And now we get into business. And we've got our friends, naysayers. We've got different information from our upline, getting kind of overwhelmed at times. What are a few distinctions on how they can make that bridge from the employee mindset to the business mindset? Just a few distinctions that you can assist us with today.
Well, that's real simple. When you look at you're transitioning from an employee mentality to a boss mentality. In other words, you have to be your own boss, not boss of others. You have to be the leader of others, but your own boss. In other words, employees make wages. Bosses make profits. Now, a lot of people would love to be a Peyton Manning who's maybe looking at a huge multi-million-dollar contract, but wouldn't you rather be the person that's offering him the contract, in other words, his boss? So it's a matter how you look at things. And that's really what this business has put you in a position where you can be your own boss and be the leaders of many as a result of being your own boss. And it all comes down to personal responsibility, activity, and having the person that everyone on your team wants to look up to. And if you were paying yourself to do the job, would you be a tough employer and would you be a good employee? So ultimately, you want to be the best boss and the hardest working employee because you're in the corporation of one, which is you, yourself, and your business. And then with that, it grows through tens of, to hundreds, to thousands, to tens of thousands, to hundreds of thousands of people. And nothing's better than having a huge group, a massively huge group, and they all want to be like you. And they want to be like based on what you've done to build your business. And that's where you see the ultimate in duplication.
Awesome. And, going back to this same concept that we're talking about, the employee mindset, the business mindset, in owning several small businesses myself, it was all about getting traffic, right? I got to get traffic in the business. If no one's coming in the store, I'm not going to be able to keep the store open very long, right? So what I love about having leads, and when I first discovered leads, is the understanding that I ran ads in the newspaper, Ron. I ran around the mall. I brought people down to an office that answered my ads in the newspaper, road sign ads, classified ads, bumper stickers on my car, magnets on my car. I could go on and on. Penny saver. There's so many things that I've done in order to get traffic, which in our business is conversations with new people. And what I found to be the most predictable, the most duplicatable, and the easiest way to get a brand new person going was to give them a batch of internet leads that I know were not oversold, that had some good people on the list, and get them calling. Not to mention myself calling, but to get them calling. And what I just find so interesting is in this whole process is I find that there's a lot of people that look at calling leads and go, I don't know if I want to call these leads. I don't know if I want to call these people on the internet. Well, what I tell them is pilots get paid to fly airplanes. Okay, barbers get paid to cut hair. We get paid to have conversations about our business with people, right? That's what we get paid for. So if you can show me a quicker way to get to those people, I'd love to see it. I found the fastest, most predictable, most duplicatable way is have several thousand leads ready to go. Now we have the calling system, of course, that makes it a lot easier. But the point is you want to have leads to give to your brand new person. You want to have leads for yourself. You never want to be at a shortage of leads. And when you master this process, as you know, it's the sky's the limit. I mean, you can really do anything. Isn't that true?
Oh, absolutely, Joe. I mean, you couldn't be more, you're 150% accurate on that. And it is about traffic. In our business, it's about talking to people, interested people in your business, people that are looking for something. It's a whole lot easier talking to people that are looking for something than people that are you're not sure if they're looking or not. I mean, if you're going to sell cars, you need to sell them to people who have a driver's license. You can't sell them to 12-year-olds. I mean, they may want a car, but there's no way they can drive a car. They don't have a driver's license, and it's the same in our business. You have to talk to the right people, and you have to have the right plan in place so you can accelerate your business and the growth of your group. And I'll tell you, in all the years that I've been in this business, Joe, the training that you have done with the hundreds and the thousands of people that have been involved in some of your trainings, it's been absolutely fantastic because you've given them a clear, concise method of calling people. You've given them the right language, which is priceless because they're not having to go out there and experiment. And yeah, I mean, you can generate your leads, you can put ads in newspapers, you can do all that kind of stuff, but ultimately that's busy work. That's very costly. When you can just get the leads and you don't have to do all the preparation and bringing them in, all you have to do is distribute them through your group or make the calls on your own. That's working smart. And see, that's what it's all about. It's not only leveraging your time, but you have to work smart with your time because you don't want to create busy, non-productive activities on an ongoing basis because the moment you do, the moment you rewrite the training, the moment you rewrite all the scripts, your group's going to be rewriting all that stuff and everyone's going to be duplicating bad habits too. So good gets duplicated, bad gets duplicated. So you need to focus on what produces results.
Awesome. Awesome, Ron. Thank you so much for today. And I know I'll be inviting you back for at least one more module in the series because I know you've got a passion to share really with a lot of the people across the internet, a lot of the leaders with this. There's a little bit of a poison, a cancer going on with everyone trying to figure out how to generate their own. Any last words you have about just people staying focused and not getting wrapped up into generating their own leads?
Well, absolutely. Look, you got to do the things that are going to create results. There is no sense in trying to, and I could show you how to produce leads. It's going to take you 20 hours, maybe 30 hours a week to produce 1 or 2 or 3 leads, unless you want to pay for traffic, and then you're in a whole different ballgame. But then if you're going to do all that, you may as well just buy the leads and work the leads and spend all your time working the leads and working with the people that are interested in joining your business. So the key is if you're going to buy a brand new car, you're not going to go and build an oil refinery in your backyard so you can get fuel at a cheaper price or try to make it out of, you make your own diesel fuel. I mean, that stuff is, there's no point. I mean, you have to work in the areas that are easy. Is it simple? Does it work? And can I do it? You have to bring it down so that people can duplicate your activities. And that's critical. Producing your own leads, look, anyone can produce leads. It's a lot of time wasted, a lot of money spent, and at the end of the day, what have you accomplished? So it's up to you what you want to do. But I would encourage you to just purchase the leads, get the leads down into your group, and focus your time and effort on making the calls, attending the trainings, practicing what you've learned, and just making the thousands of calls through your group and encouraging your group to do the same thing because that's where you're going to see the greatest growth.
Awesome. Ron, thank you so much. I know you've got another appointment coming up. Ron, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate you very much, and we're excited to see you as well on some more video training. So thank you again.
Very good. Thank you.
All right.